On the day of my wedding with my husband, a swordswoman barged in. She lifted my bridal veil and pinched my face with a grin. She praised, "What a tender little bride," and gracefully left. Since then, there was a black ink stain on my face that couldn't be washed off no matter what I tried. Me husband despised me and never set foot in my room again. My mother-in-law resented me for occupying the position of the main wife, yet being unable to bear an heir. Even my sister-in-law lamented that her brother had such a hard fate, marrying an ugly woman. I became the invisible mistress of the Marquise's mansion, working hard without complaint, managing the household, raising the adopted son, wholeheartedly planning for the Marquise's household. Until I stumbled upon my husband and the swordswoman enjoying flowers and a spring outing together. Only then did I learn that my husband and the swordswoman had fallen in love at first sight, long ago. The swordswoman was unwilling to be bound by the rules of the Marquise's mansion and left my husband. Yet she couldn't bear to give up her beloved to another, so she used a secret potion to ruin my appearance. And my husband had long found the swordswoman and obtained the antidote, but under her tears and tender affection, he threw away the antidote and promised her his unwavering devotion. He remained chaste for her in the Marquise's mansion, while outside he lived in harmony with her and had a son and a daughter. The son was given to me to raise, to inherit the Marquise's family legacy. The daughter stayed by their side to bring them joy, and in the future would have a husband marry into her family. All these years, they lived so happily, and I was the only one suffering. I secretly slipped the heroine some muscle, weakening powder, then set the manor on fire, notified my husband and son to come put out the fire, tied them up as thieves, and threw them into the manor together. Knowing I had committed a capital offense, I wrote a letter in my own blood and struck the drum of appeal, accusing the Marquise's household of favoring a concubine and mistreating the legitimate wife. The Marquise's household was stripped of their titles and demoted, and I was sentenced to death. The Empress took pity on me, allowing me to divorce before my execution. From then on, I was no longer a wife of the Liu family, just a daughter of the Li family. After my death, I saw everyone cursing the Marquise's household, and also saw everyone calling me a vicious woman. Let people say what they will about right and wrong, but this life of mine was truly wasted. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on my wedding day. The heroine came flying straight at me with a grin. I quickly pulled my husband in front of me as a shield. This time, it was my husband's face that got stained with a big ink mark. I came to my senses amidst Gu Feiyan's startled scream, realizing I had experienced rebirth. In my previous life, on my wedding day, my face was smeared with black in public. Gu Feiyan ran away giggling. Everyone's eyes fell on me. I was terrified, and at a loss, tears welling up in my eyes. Yet I barely held them back. The maid supporting me tried to wipe off the black stain, but found it wouldn't come off. Under my mother-in-law's urging, she could only hurriedly cover me with the bridal veil, proceed with the wedding ceremony first. At that time, none of us realized that ink mark would stay with me for the rest of my life. Tode, looking at the ink stain on Lu Yu's face, two thoughts quickly popped up in my mind. One was that I would make this ink stain stay on Lu Yu's face for a lifetime. I would make him regret what happened today until the day he dies. Two was that I would make Gu Feiyan also taste this pain. I would make them love and kill each other, suspect each other, and hate each other until death. Lu Yu watched Gu Feiyan flee and slightly breathed a sigh of relief. He turned around to look at me, but his face was full of reproach. "Shangxiang, you've really disappointed me. Let's break off the engagement." I indifferently lifted the disheveled wedding veil and casually tossed it on the ground. In my previous life, Lu Yu and I were married for over 20 years, yet we never had marital intimacy. He wanted to keep himself pure for Gu Feiyan. He and I were nothing but strangers living under the same roof. In this life, we haven't completed the wedding ceremony, so we can't be considered husband and wife. I will be the Lai family's daughter, not his Lu family's wife. I never want to be tied to him again. Lu Yu was stunned. He reached out and grabbed my sleeve. Shang, just because someone made a scene, you want to break off the engagement? Around us, everyone was shocked. Lu Yu's mother, Madame Qian, had a livid expression. Lu Yu's younger sister, Lu Lian, also looked furious. I sneered. In my previous life, I also thought I was just unlucky, running into a crazy woman who made trouble and ruined my whole life. But later, I found out, Lu Yu, his mother, his sister, they all clearly knew about Gu Feiyan's existence, knew she had a secret medicine that could remove the ink mark on my face. Yet they all collectively kept silent. My mother-in-law counted on me to manage the inner household. Me sister. In-law relied on me to earn her dowry and back her up at her husband's family. They hoped I would whip myself and squeeze myself dry out of low self-esteem. Be a diligent old workhorse, always trying to please them, so they could reluctantly make use of me while looking down on me from their high horse. In this life, they can forget about splashing even a drop of dirty water on me. I said coldly. Young Master Lu, this ink mark is called Wushuang ink. Once it sticks to the skin, unless there is a specially made secret medicine, it is absolutely impossible to remove. That person clearly came with the intent to ruin me. And that woman kept calling you. You, Lang. Young Master Lu. This is a romantic debt you brought upon yourself. And I, Li Shangjun, absolutely refuse to marry someone who is half-hearted. Lu Yu was slightly startled, then his brows and eyes darkened. Don't be alarmist. I admit that woman and I know each other, but there is absolutely nothing romantic between us. Today was just her being childish and making a fuss. Actually, love or not love, it is really quite clear. Her vicious cruelty, in his eyes, was just a child making a fuss. In my past life, I once went to Jinjian nunnery to pray to Buddha. I wanted to ask the most respected elderly nun in the nunnery, why has my life been so bitter? When I arrived, the old nun was wiping the hands of the little novices she had taken in. The little novices lined up one by one, waiting for the old nun to rinse the cloth and wipe their hands and faces clean. Those little novices could have washed themselves, but because she had wiped one of their hands and faces, they all wanted her to do it for them too. The old nun didn't find it troublesome at all. Her eyes were full of loving kindness. She told me that she didn't expect them to become nuns when they grew up, only wished for them to grow up healthy and free from harm. She said, I know why you've come, benefactor. If you cannot be a child again in front of him, he doesn't love you. If he cannot be a child again in front of you, you don't love him either. I went down the mountain in a daze. Suddenly I felt that my marriage with Lu Yu was quite fair. He didn't love me, and I didn't love him either. This was what I had been telling myself for comfort during 20 years as a wife of the Lu family. Until I saw him being all lovey-dovey with Gu Feiyan. The scale called fairness in my heart became unbalanced. Because I realized that Lu Yu could not love me, but as a man, he could openly love someone else. But I, as a woman, could never openly love anyone other than my husband for my entire life. This marriage was not fair at all. I sneered. If Lord Lu doesn't believe me, feel free to wipe it with a handkerchief and see if you can remove the ink stains from your face. Lu Yu stared at me fixedly, still refusing to lift his sleeve even a little. I found it even more ironic. He didn't dare to verify. He had guessed that Gu Feiyan was very likely that kind of person. This deepened my disgust for him another layer, and the anger in my heart surged up even more. He knew everything. Yet he tormented me for a lifetime. He watched coldly as I humbly struggled to survive in the Lu family, yet never once spoke a word of fairness for me, because my sacrifice was the bargaining chip for his and Gu Feiyan's happiness. Even that son was probably only given to me because he pitied me. How ironic. But Mother Lu, Madame Qian, became anxious and hurriedly took out a handkerchief to wipe it. Lu Yu didn't dare push away his mother's hand in front of everyone. So he was held down while his face was wiped, rubbing his skin red. Yet the ink marks didn't come off. instead appearing even more ghastly in contrast. Mother Lu panicked and immediately ordered someone to find Gu Feiyan. She wanted to persuade me again, but was stopped by people from my family. Lu Yu's sister Lu Lian hurriedly said, "Sister Xiangjun, do you really have no feelings at all for my brother? He has no romantic feelings for that woman. It is all one-sided on her part." I said coldly, "Miss Lu, the man Li Xiangjun, am going to marry is a talented young man. Definitely not such an ugly husband. Wait until your brother's face is cleaned up before coming to find me. Otherwise, just looking at his face alone will make me lose my appetite. In my previous life, they enjoyed the luxurious life I provided, yet still mocked me behind my back as an ugly plain woman, saying one glance at me would give them nightmares. That was an exaggeration, of course. I wore a veil over my face here. Round, they couldn't see the ink stains on my face. They just wanted to stab my heart to make me sad. Because in this world, my husband was the first to not love me, to bully me. So they followed suit, insulting me, bullying me. It is like a window with a hole in it. Those willing to fix the window are saints. But most ordinary people only poke more and more holes in the window. I used to be that window with a hole in it. Now, I will equally deliver every evildoer to their end." I returned home and immediately issued several orders. The first was to send people to watch Lu Yu at all times. Gu Feiyan couldn't bear to see Lu Yu suffer. She would definitely go back to find Lu Yu. I would make sure she never returns. I would make Lu Yu live with that ugly face for the rest of his life. The second was to go to Yuxiang Tower in the capital. That was the largest assassin organization in the capital. I would put a bounty to have people hunt down Gu Feiyan. In my previous life, I had tried every way possible to find Gu Feiyan. I had a photographic memory. I drew Gu Feiyan's portrait, tried every way to find people from the Jianggu, wanting to find Gu Feiyan and get the antidote from her. But Lu Yu angrily accused me of colluding with Jianggu people, saying I wanted to ruin his official career. At that time I asked him how he found out. I handled this matter discreetly, and Yuxiang Tower has even better confidentiality. They would never leak customers' privacy, he said in a cold, harsh voice that his political enemies had found out, telling me to stop immediately and not cause trouble for him. Only before I died did I finally understand. It was clearly because Gu Feiyan was injured while being hunted down and went crying to him. That is why he came to me, using the excuse of affecting his official career to make me withdraw the assassination order. In this life, I will make Gu Feiyan live in fear every single day. Since she doesn't like being bound by the Marquis Manor's rules, then she might as well spend her whole life displaced and wandering. Third is to summon the manor physician, give him a prescription, and have him analyze Wushuangmo. In my previous life, I could never find the antidote, so I could only desperately make money, buy several pharmacies, hire some renowned physicians, and work on the prescription. I figured that as long as I could crack the prescription, I would naturally be able to find the antidote. Those renowned physicians were indeed capable. They came up with a prescription similar to Wushuangmo, and also attempted to concoct an antidote. That antidote, when used on my face, only lightened the ink color somewhat, but did not completely remove the ink marks from my face. Those renowned physicians said that perhaps one or two of the most crucial ingredients were missing, and those ingredients probably weren't from around here. They likely came from foreign lands. That Gu Feiyan had traveled far and wide, journeying everywhere. Who knows where she got such strange and peculiar things from? I felt regret in my heart, but I was not discouraged. I had them modify the prescription, changing it to a frost, free ink with no antidote whatsoever. At that time, I actually harbored a thought. If one day I found Gu Feiyan, I would smear her entire face with ink. I would make her regret what she did for the rest of her life. In my previous life, I used this formula, slipped her the soft tendon powder, and blackened her face, but she died too quickly. No one saw her blackened face. I didn't feel any satisfaction from revenge at all. only a dreamlike sense of absurdity. Everything was just too absurd. Because of the love and hatred between him and her, I became a sacrifice to maintain their happy life. But no one ever asked if I was willing. In this life, she shouldn't dream of living in this world with a clean face. The last thing, I went to do it myself. I changed into casual clothes, brought along my maids and servants, drove the carriage, and went to a fair. In a corner of the fair, there was a man and a woman. The man stood with his sword in his arms, eyes downcast, his handsome face full of impatience. The woman was performing, her appearance plain, quite ordinary, but she wielded her sword with such dexterity and ferocity that her whole being exuded a valiant spirit, radiating an inner brilliance. Her gaze was resolute, feeling no shame in performing for money. When she finished her sword dance, she picked up a small basket to collect tips, but the crowd scattered with a whoosh, afraid of being asked for money if they left too slowly, and some even spat at her. That woman had a calm expression. When she was about to reach me, I averted my gaze and didn't give any money, instead going to the tea stall next door and ordering a cup of tea. That man said coldly, "I told you long ago, this is useless, but you just wouldn't believe me." That woman didn't like hearing such sarcastic remarks, and replied, "Senior brother Zhu, if you want to do it, then do it. If you don't want to, then just stay aside. Nobody asked you." That man was called Zhu Wu. The woman was called Ku. The two were senior and junior disciples, and also Gu Feiyan's enemies. In my previous life, I had already found out through various channels that the woman who harmed me was called Gu Feiyan, a somewhat famous heroine in the Jianggu, with exceptionally graceful lightness skills. She was innocent and carefree, with clear likes and dislikes, and loved to join in on the fun. She stood up against injustice and had done good deeds, but if you accidentally offended her, you'd better watch out for her making your life a living hell. Zhu Wu and Ku, his master, Song Yishan, was an old Jianggu veteran. Later, wanting to retire from the Jianggu, he held a golden basin hand. Washing ceremony. On that day, if no one came to seek revenge against him, then it would mean all Jianggu grudges were settled, and from then on, he could return to a peaceful life. But Gu Feiyan just had to barge in and called out to Song Yishan, "Dad, did I agree to you washing your hands in the golden basin?" Then, with a giggle, she knocked over the golden basin and gracefully departed. Her casual call of Dad made it seem like Song Yishan got the better end of the deal. But Song Yishan had lived an upright life, and he and his wife loved each other dearly. The two had no children, so they took in Zhu Wu and Ku He as disciples to pass on their legacy. Suddenly, a woman appeared calling him father, and even knocked over his golden basin. Not only did his golden basin hand washing ceremony fail to take place, but he also had a falling out with his wife. His wife didn't believe anyone would casually call a stranger father, and was convinced he had betrayed their bond, leaving in anger. Song Yishan went to chase after her, but encountered an enemy on the way. That enemy had originally planned to settle their grudge with him, but upon learning his golden basin had been smashed, and a daughter had appeared, thought his character was despicable, that heaven wouldn't allow him to wash his hands of the Jianggu. If this grudge went unavenged, it would be an affront to justice. That enemy had originally intended to sever one of his arms to settle the score, but Song Yishan was anxious to find his wife. Both sides lost their tempers, and Song Yishan was accidentally killed. His wife, having calmed down halfway through her journey, came back intending to get a clear answer, but saw her husband's corpse. Believing she had caused her husband's death, she took her own life beside him. From then on, Zhu Wu and Ku he embarked on the path of vengeance. The two sold off their belongings and searched everywhere for Gu Feiyan. Now they had reached the end of their rope. Zhu Wu had always been proud, unwilling to perform for money or work as someone's guard. He thought of escorting goods at an escort agency. But once you joined an escort agency, signing a contract meant being bound for several years. He disagreed, thinking that way she couldn't avenge her master quickly enough. So she planned to make a living by street performing. And once she got money, she would go find Gu Feiyan. In the previous life, Gu Feiyan knew they were looking for her, so she sent people to ambush them and beat them half to death. It was when I came down from Jinging Nunnery that I picked them up and brought them home. After they recovered from their injuries, they worked for me. I hired renowned masters to teach them. After the two finished their training, they searched everywhere for Gu Feiyan. Later, Zhu Wu brought back a severed head, saying he had already killed Gu Feiyan. But Gu Feiyan was tight-lipped, preferring to destroy the antidote rather than hand it over. He failed to bring the antidote back, and the most regrettable thing was that He unfortunately lost her life because of this. At that time, I didn't suspect anything, gave Zhu Wu a sum of money to thank him for helping me take revenge, and let him go. I only felt regret that He had died. At night, I lit incense, gazing at the benevolent-faced Guan Yin, wanting so much to ask clearly, is so-called revenge, trading one life for another, worth it? He once said, it was worth it. She said the Song Yishan couple treated her like their own daughter, and there was no reason for children to remain indifferent when their parents were killed by others. But in the end, I still couldn't sleep at night. I kept an eternal lamp lit for her for many years. That resentment in my heart, strand by strand, never ceased. I felt revenge should be taken, but she should have stayed alive too. Even if one must trade life for life, one should trade one's own life for many lives. But later, when I set fire to Gu Feiyan's manor, I saw Zhu Wu desperately rushing into the flames, trying to save Gu Feiyan. Only then did I realize I had been deceived by Zhu Wu. That head wasn't Gu Feiyan's at all. It might even have been He in disguise. That heartless bastard, he very likely killed He. In this life, I found them ahead of time. I hope he can see Zhu Wu's true face sooner. Also, I really want to know, what would Lu Yu's reaction be if he knew there was always an admirer hiding by Gu Feiyan's side? That would surely be hilarious. Zhu Wu coldly glared at He, then turned and strode away. He rested for a while, then started hawking again. I watched her work until the sun set in the west, yet she only earned about a dozen copper coins. The road to her revenge was still very long. When she packed up her stall, I had my maid invite her over and asked if she would be willing to be my bodyguard. He immediately refused. I dipped my finger in tea and wrote 3 characters on the table. Gu Feiyan. She immediately froze, her face full of wariness. I smiled and said, Miss Q, our goals are the same. She is my enemy too. However, with your current skills, I am afraid it won't be enough. She immediately knelt on one knee, cupping her hands in salute. Please guide me, miss. As long as I can avenge my master and his wife, I am willing to be your servant for life. I helped her up, silently thinking to myself, good girl, I don't want you to be my servant. I only wish for you to live freely and happily in this world. Just like me. On the way back, I made a trip to Jingyanan and donated some money to the still young Abbess Jing'an. Abbess Jing'an asked me, Benefactor, would you like to draw a fortune stick? This humble nun is willing to interpret it for you. She was already quite famous and no longer easily interpreted fortunes for others. But I shook my head and refused. My wish isn't something a fortune stick can resolve. What makes people stop fearing poverty is becoming wealthy. What can truly let me let go of my burdens is having my great revenge fulfilled. Right now, I can't see through it all, nor do I want to. Abbess Jing'an smiled and said, Then let this humble nun offer you a word, benefactor. Fate is never set in stone. Your every word and deed contains your destiny. Destiny is ever-changing. The only constant is change itself. This humble nun wishes the benefactor's desires be fulfilled. I pressed my palms together, returned the courtesy, and leisurely descended the mountain. At the foot of the mountain, I still had a tough battle to fight. I brought Kay back to the manor, and the moment I entered, I faced a joint interrogation. Parents, relatives, countless pairs of eyes were watching me. They needed me to give them an explanation. They considered me a daughter of the Lai family to the outside world. They had been protecting me all day, but internally, they needed me to explain clearly why I wanted to break off the engagement with the Liu family. I slowly knelt down and said softly, "Father, mother, all the great uncles and great aunts, uncles and aunties, it was I who brought shame upon the Lai family. But now that this marriage is called off, I have no regrets. Liu Yu is not worthy of me. Liu Yu had an affair with that woman. That woman didn't want to be bound by the Marquis Manor's rules, so she left Liu Yu, yet she wasn't willing to let go, which is why she deliberately tried to ruin my appearance at the wedding banquet. Liu Yu knew this perfectly well, yet, in front of everyone, he couldn't bear to say even one word of blame to that woman. If I truly married into the Marquis Manor, there would only be endless suffering waiting for me. A daughter of the Lai family can be frugal and diligent in managing the household, working hard without complaint. But she shouldn't be schemed against to slave away like an ox or horse, bullied and exploited. Father's expression was grim. Mother's eyes were full of pity. Everyone was murmuring among themselves. A great uncle let out a long sigh. But you were too willful. Nothing like this has ever happened in the Lai family. The Lai family was a scholarly clan of high repute. When it came to marriage, they only valued character. The daughters of the Lai family had noble conduct, and their reputation spread far and wide. They never had to worry about finding a match. Back then, when the Marquis Manor came to propose marriage, what they valued was the Lai family's reputation. Father had investigated this Liu Yu person. The people around him all had quite good opinions of Liu Yu: handsome appearance, outstanding abilities, limitless future prospects, and what was even more rare was his noble character. He was a man of great promise. That day, Father asked Liu Yu 3 questions. Do you have anyone you fancy, or a bedmaid or mistress? Will you take concubines? Can you accept having only one wife for life? Do you have any romantic entanglements outside? Have you made any promises to others? Liu Yu answered firmly. No. Father had investigated, and indeed there were none. At that time, none of us knew that while he truly had no relations with noble ladies in the capital, he was entangled passionately with a Jianggu woman far removed from our world. I also didn't know why he would so firmly claim he had nothing to do with Gu Feiyan. Perhaps they had a falling out back then, and he was in a fit of anger at the peak of his hatred for her, so he could say such deceitful words without any burden. But Gu Feiyan storming into the wedding banquet in fury made him see through her saying one thing while meaning another, and also made him realize his own true heart. He truly didn't love me, and he truly loved Gu Feiyan to desperation. My parents thought they had married me off to an outstanding young talent, thought I would be as happy as they were. But my first night in the bridal chamber, I spent sitting there in solitude. Liu Yu said, "I will help you find that woman." He kept me company through the night. After that, he didn't want to come, and I didn't want to go. We treated each other with courtesy like guests. Later on, he advised me to let it go. I don't care how your face looks. You should let it go too. Between a man and woman, love isn't mandatory. The way things are now, each fulfilling our own duties, is just fine. If a person were a tree, I feel like my inner self is withering day by day, because I've dried up so much that I can't get even a drop of water to nourish me. The Marquis Manor is full of people who need me, yet no one gives me a single thank you in return. I want to accept my fate, but I am not willing to give up. I always want to struggle and make my life bloom into a flower. Even if it is a very, very small flower. At least my life would have been brilliant once. But no. Until death, I remained withered and dried up. I was punished to kneel in the ancestral hall. He felt indignant for me. She accompanied me into the ancestral hall. She said, "If it were me, I would kill those 2 people. She is so cute. I didn't kneel in front of the prayer cushion. In my previous life, I had been the obedient and sensible noble lady long enough. In this life, I don't care anymore. I offered incense to the ancestors, then opened the window and let he take me away. He froze. Huh? I smiled. Let's go. Weren't we going to kill those two people? Let's go now. Aren't you going to kneel? I took a deep look at the ancestral tablets. Nope. Our own ancestors wouldn't bear to let their own descendants suffer. My rebirth might have been granted because the old ancestors kowtowed until their heads broke underground. How could they blame me? They would only feel heartache for me. He was in a daze. She pulled me along as we climbed out the window and over the wall. I commented, "Your strength and lightness skills are both a bit lacking. You won't be able to catch up to Gu Feiyan like this." He took me to hide near the Lu residence. The sky had long since turned completely dark. The courtyard of Lu's mother, Madame Qian, was noisy and chaotic. Madame Qian was probably in a bad mood, and the sound of her scolding could be faintly heard in the air. Lu Lian was throwing things around, slapped a maidservant across the face, and loudly told her to get lost. Later, the candles in the courtyard went out one by one. Only the candle in Lu Yu's room remained lit. He sat by the window, the candlelight casting his silhouette clearly. He was actually a very handsome man, with looks that could deceive. Back then, we were all more or less fooled by his face. Mother said, "You two were a perfect match in terms of appearance." I had also wondered, if my appearance hadn't been ruined, would Lu Yu and I have lived in mutual respect? I thought. Perhaps we would have, but perhaps we would still have ended in tragedy, because there is no face that doesn't age, and Lu Yu was not a sincere gentleman of consistent character. I thought, this is fine too. At least I never gave him my heart, so it is not a loss. But seeing my parents' loving relationship, I still feel regret. Father loves mother's youthful face, and also loves her wrinkles as she ages. Mother cherishes father, even though he is not as imposing as before, and feels tender about his graying hair. They had quietly discussed the question of who would die first. In the end, the two faced each other in silence, tears falling quietly. Neither could bear for the other to die first, nor could they bear to leave the other behind, to grieve alone. Having seen the finest love in the world, I finally understood my own bleakness, and found it all the more absurd. My thoughts drifted far away. He suddenly tugged at my sleeve. She quietly pointed in a direction, and I saw under the tranquil, empty night sky, a woman appeared sneakily. After checking her surroundings, she was about to slip into the Lu family courtyard without a sound. It was Gu Feiyan. I took out a whistle and blew it lightly. Several people immediately stepped out from the darkness to intercept Gu Feiyan. Gu Feiyan's lightness skill was indeed formidable. She darted and dodged among the several people with extreme agility. But in the end, 2 fists were no match for 4 hands, and she gradually fell to a disadvantage. He wanted to go forward to help, but I held her back, letting her watch quietly. Then we saw a person leap out, block those people, and swiftly rescue Gu Feiyan. He was greatly alarmed and abruptly stood up. She recognized him. "That person was Zhu Wu," she said. "It is senior brother Zhu. He caught Gu Feiyan. Let's follow and get revenge." She was very excited. I felt a bit sorry for her. In her previous life, she trained in martial arts very hard. To avenge master and mistress, she really practiced like her life depended on it. She was stronger than Zhu Wu, but in the end, it was Zhu Wu who took her life, because she had never once suspected Zhu Wu. This life, she'd better see things clearly. I said, "Miss Ku, from now on you need to hide your presence, and can't say a single word. If you say one word, I'll deduct 1 copper coin from you. On the contrary, if you can persist without saying a single word, I'll reward you with 1 silver ingot. 1 silver ingot is 10 taels." His eyes widened. She opened her mouth to speak, but then remembered something and hurriedly shut her mouth tight. nodding vigorously. We followed Zhu Wu. We saw Zhu Wu bring Gu Feiyan to a safe grove. He reluctantly let go of Gu Feiyan, stepped back, turned his face away and said coldly, "Miss Gu, it is safe now. You are fine." He hid with me behind a tree. Upon hearing this, her eyes went wide and she immediately wanted to rush out. I held her back tightly and signaled her to listen. Gu Feiyan, still shaken, looked around before turning to Zhu Wu and said with amusement, "So it is you. How come you were there?" Zhu Wu gave a cold snort and turned to leave. Gu Feiyan's eyes rolled and she cried out, "Aya!" Zhu Wu immediately stopped in his tracks and turned back to ask, "What is wrong?" I twisted my ankle. It hurt so much. Gu Feiyan's face was full of pain. Zhu Wu leaped and quickly darted to Gu Feiyan's side, bending down to look at her foot, continuously asking Gu Feiyan, "Does it hurt here? How about here? Is it this spot?" Gu Feiyan burst out laughing with a PFF. "Big brother Zhu Wu, you care about me. Why do you care about me so much?" Zhu Wu realized he had been teased, immediately let go of Gu Feiyan's foot, stood up and angrily scolded, "You temptress, always playing tricks on people. I won't believe you again." He immediately walked away. Gu Feiyan hurriedly said, "Hey, I did lie to you. My foot really doesn't hurt, but my heart aches." That one sentence made Zhu Wu stay. Zhu Wu stopped in his tracks. "What does your heart ache for?" "For you, of course. I know you must be very conflicted, very upset. I deliberately avoided you because I didn't want us to end up like this. But it still happened anyway. Say whatever you want. You harmed my master. Between you and me, there is only deep hatred. This time I am letting you go. But next time I see you, I definitely won't show mercy." She strode away. Gu Feiyan called out loudly, "Zhu Wu, turn around." Zhu Wu instinctively turned his head. Gu Feiyan said with a grin, "There, you've seen me again. Now you can come kill me." Zhu Wu was so infuriated by her that his hand reached for his sword hilt, gripping then releasing, releasing then gripping, doing this several times, making people roll their eyes. He was already fuming with rage. I firmly gripped her wrist while carefully observing Gu Feiyan. Having lived 2 lives, I really don't understand Gu Feiyan at all. I don't understand what magic she has to make Lu Yu disregard propriety and rules, to make Zhu Wu set aside the grudge of his master's murder. I want to watch a bit more. Zhu Wu was so angry his face contorted, yet he still didn't draw his sword. Gu Feiyan threw herself into Zhu Wu's arms with a beaming smile, hugging his waist, and said softly, "Brother Zhu Wu, I knew you couldn't bear to kill me. If you don't make a move on me this time, you won't ever make a move on me again. Right? I know the anguish in your heart. You hate me for ruining your master's golden basin hand. Washing ceremony, but do you know why I did that? Why?" With soft jade and warm fragrance in his arms, Zhu Wu visibly relaxed. He seemed to be looking forward to Gu Feiyan giving a reasonable explanation, so he could let go of his moral burden and no longer have to avenge Song Yishan. Gu Feiyan let go of Zhu Wu and said coldly and proudly, "Isn't it all your master's fault? It would have been fine if your master just wanted to retire himself, but he insisted on having you retire from the Jianggu with him, forbidding you from seeing me anymore. He said I always stir up trouble and that I only have martial skills but no sense. I heard all of that. I am clear about my grudges and favors. He treated me badly, so naturally I had to get back at him." "What? Is your master allowed to badmouth me, but I am not allowed to strike back?" She looked up at Zhu Wu, and seeing his expression was bad, she immediately became anxious. "You are still going to blame me, aren't you? It was his own bad luck that he got killed. I just wanted to let him taste the pain of being misunderstood. If you blame me, then kill me right now. I won't hold it against you." She stretched out her neck, her face showing a stubborn readiness to die, making one feel both hate and love looking at her. Zhu Wu let out a long sigh, seemingly quite helpless. You know full well I won't kill you. Gu Feiyan's anger turned to joy, pouting adorably. Brother Zhu Wu, I knew you were the best. A hint of smile surfaced on Zhu Wu's cold face, but soon he put away his smile and asked, What is the deal with you going to the Liu family? I heard you caused a huge scene at the Marquis Manor's wedding banquet today. You've fallen for the Marquis Manor's young lord? When did things start between you two? Gu Feiyan wasn't flustered at all. She said matter of factly, I do like him. So what? I've always treated you like my own brother. Could it be you like me? She stared at Zhu Wu without blinking. Zhu Wu was angered, unwilling to admit it, yet seemingly not resigned either. You, who likes you? Gu Feiyan said as if it were obvious. If you don't like me, is it not okay for me to like someone else? Zhu Wu was furious, yet he still refused to say the word like, as if saying it would make him completely beneath Gu Feiyan. Gu Feiyan let out a soft hum, slightly tilting her chin up, fingers twirling her hair, looking cute and charming. She glanced sideways at Zhu Wu, and seeing how angry he looked, couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Brother Zhu Wu, stop being angry. You clearly know there is no possibility between us. Why is it impossible? Between you and me stands your master's death. Though I didn't kill him, the world doesn't know the truth and won't see it that way. They'll point fingers at us. Can you really ignore what people say? And then there is your junior sister. I've heard she is an extremely stubborn person. If you really get together with me, she won't just kill me, she'll kill you too. What would you do then? I don't want you to end up abandoned by everyone. Nor do I want you caught in a dilemma, Brother Zhu Wu. Calling each other brother and sister is the best outcome for us. You and I truly have no fate in this life. You'll respect me and give me your blessings, won't you? In my heart, you'll always be my brother. She spoke as if on the verge of tears. Zhu Wu's heart softened, his face full of frustration and turmoil. He spoke irritably. I won't let my junior sister kill you. I'll figure something out. But what is the use of liking him? He is the son of nobility, and you are a woman of the Zhonggu. Besides, he is already about to marry. A man like that doesn't deserve you. Hamph. So what if he is a son of nobility? I, Gu Feiyan, am worthy of anyone. Besides, it was me who didn't want him. That is why he went to marry someone else. Then why did you cause trouble at their wedding banquet? You clearly can't let go. Yes, I can't let go. I wanted to see what kind of woman he is marrying. I am still heartbroken and sad. So why does he get to have a beauty in his arms? I crashed his wedding out of jealousy. I want him to remember my face for all eternity. I won't allow him to look at anyone else. I want to ruin that woman and make everyone despise her. I am just a despicable, petty person trapped by love. Are you satisfied now? Gu Feiyan was being unreasonable, but Zhu Wu became anxious. His eyes were full of panic, and despite being such a big man, he didn't know what to do with his hands and feet. I didn't say that. But you clearly think so. I don't. Kill that cheap woman for me, and I'll believe you. You are being ridiculous. Yes, I am being ridiculous. I am immature. Are you regretting knowing me now? If so, let's never see each other again. Gu Feiyan gritted her teeth, stomped her feet in anger, used her lightness skill to leap onto a tree, tapped her toes lightly, and disappeared from sight within a few bounds. Zhu Wu stood frozen in place, but eventually let out a frustrated sigh and got up to chase after her. Just at that moment, he swiftly flicked a pebble, striking Zhu Wu's temple. She struck with extreme force. Zhu Wu let out a muffled groan and collapsed to the ground. He rushed over, angrily delivered another knife, hand strike to knock him out completely, and only then tied him up. She kicked Zhu Wu several times with hatred. Bastard! 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 How can you face master? How can you face Shifu's wife? She never dreamed that her master would have his family destroyed, just for speaking a few words against Gu Feiyan, and even less expected that Zhu Wu and Gu Feiyan knew each other, and had once developed feelings for each other. She felt it wasn't worth it for her master and his wife, having raised such an ungrateful wretch. I also feel it wasn't worth it for myself. In my previous life, my entire life was truly wasted by these three lunatics. I blew a whistle, waited for a moment, and a few people came at the sound, throwing Gu Feiyan on the ground. These were people from Yuxiang Tower. They went after Gu Feiyan and easily took down the completely unsuspecting Gu Feiyan. I searched her and found 2 bottles of ointment, own bottle of Wushuang Mo, and another bottle that smelled very similar to the antidote for Wushuang Mo that famous doctors had once concocted, but it still needed to be confirmed. I locked the 2 of them in a secret room at one of the Lai family's estates. I held them separately, then blindfolded them and splashed water to wake them up. The first one to be interrogated was Gu Feiyan. After she woke up, she turned her head blankly and said harshly, "Who are you? What do you want?" I remained silent. "Ku." He coldly whipped Gu Feiyan once, feigning anger. "You harmed my brother. Of course I came to find you for revenge. I am asking you, where is the antidote for Wushuang Mo?" Gu Feiyan said. "You are Lu Lian." He snorted lightly, not denying it. Gu Feiyan wasn't as angry anymore, and relaxed a little. It seemed that in her eyes, Lu Lian would never harm her life no matter what. So Lu Lian already knew about Gu Feiyan at this time. I was dazed for a moment, and the unwillingness and anger in my heart kept surging up endlessly, lingering and persistent, like weeping and lamenting. Gu Feiyan said, "I didn't mean to harm your brother. It was that cheap woman. She had no feelings for your brother at all. Otherwise, why would she hide behind your brother and make me accidentally miss?" "Ah," He whipped Gu Feiyan hard again. "You are the despicable one. It is none of your business what happens between my brother and sister-in-law. Who gave you the right to debase yourself by disrupting someone else's wedding? Didn't your parents teach you any manners or etiquette? Or are you like an animal born and raised without parents? Give me the antidote, and I'll spare your life. Otherwise, I'll disfigure your face." She pulled out a dagger, the cold blade pressed against Gu Feiyan's tender cheek. Gu Feiyan seemed to finally feel afraid, suppressing her rage, and said coldly, "The antidote is on me." He pretended to reach out and search her, naturally finding nothing. She raised her hand and slapped Gu Feiyan with a sharp smack. "You lied to me. There is no antidote on you at all." "How could that be? There must be. Keep looking." Gu Feiyan panicked. His voice was cold and harsh. "There is none means there is none. Are you deliberately trying to harm my brother? If my brother's career is ruined, he will never forgive you in this lifetime." This dynasty had regulations. Officials must have proper appearance and sound bodies. If Lu Yu couldn't remove the ink marks on his face soon, his career would come to an end. He would never again hold a high position with power in his hands, like in his previous life. Gu Feiyan was on the verge of tears from panic. "There really is. Check again." "How could I possibly harm you, Lang?" He softened her tone slightly. "There really isn't any. Did you drop it on the way? Do you have any other way to make the antidote? This concerns my brother's entire life." "No, I obtained this ointment by chance. There is only this one bottle, and there is only one bottle of antidote too." He and I exchanged a glance. I let out a huge sigh of relief. "That is just perfect then." He slapped Gu Feiyan hard across the face, grinding her teeth. "Then you've really done my brother in. Now that he has no antidote, what is he supposed to do? You ruined my brother, which means you've ruined the entire future of my Lu family, Gu Feiyan. My brother will definitely kill you. Even if my brother doesn't kill you, Mother and I will never let you off either. Don't even dream of stepping through my Lu family's doors in this lifetime." Gu Feiyan's face turned deathly pale, utterly panicked. "Let Yu Lang come see me. I want to see Yu Lang. There is still a way. I bought this drug from a group of merchants who came from the western regions. Take the bottle and go find the western region merchants. You might be able to find the antidote." I was completely relieved. Merchants from the western regions, who just happened to sell this kind of drug. You probably couldn't find them even if you waited 10 years. This was truly a chance encounter that couldn't be sought. No wonder, in my previous life, I searched all across the land but couldn't find this drug. Lu Yu was finished. My heart was greatly comforted. I took the whip and lashed Gu Feiyan, strike after strike. In my previous life, I hated her for 20 years, yet I didn't even know where her shadow was. In this life, I could finally let my hatred fall upon her in a real, tangible way. The tip of the whip slashed across Gu Feiyan's face, leaving bloody whip marks on her face. She let out a miserable scream, her head turning toward my direction in disbelief. "You bitch, how dare you ruin my face? Your brother will never let you get away with this." I threw down the whip, put on suede gloves, and applied frost, free ink to the places on her face that had been torn apart by the whip. The black ointment seeped into her blood-red wounds, the mix of red and black looking especially gruesome. I admired it for a while, feeling my once withered heart being slowly infused with vitality. This was the karma I wanted. I walked out of the secret room to interrogate Zhu Wu in another room. This time he watched while I did the interrogating. Zhu Wu listened and judged positions by sound, probably figuring out there were two people. He said coldly, "Who are you people? Why did you kidnap me?" I said calmly, "You don't need to know who I am. I want you to help me with something. Your junior sister is in my hands. As long as you are willing to help me kill Lu Yu, I'll let your junior sister go. How about it?" He slowed her breathing, clenched her fists, and watched Zhu Wu's reaction with a grave expression. But a flash of extremely well-hidden secret delight crossed Zhu Wu's face. He turned his head away and said coldly, "A real man knows what he should and shouldn't do. I will never be coerced by you into committing murder and robbery. You don't care about your junior sister's life anymore? Everyone has their own fate, do as you please. What about Gu Feiyan then? You don't care about Gu Feiyan's life either." Zhu Wu shuddered, his face filled with rage, gritting his teeth. "You people are truly despicable." Both he and I fell silent. My response to him was my whip, striking hard. I whipped him without mercy. I hated him for being so selfish in my past life, deceiving and lying to me. He really was killed by him. He actually had the nerve to come here asking me for money, this animal. I got tired from the beating. He took over. Zhu Wu screamed miserably again and again, blood soaking through his clothes, and he quickly became a bloody mess. I said indifferently, "Quite the tough nut. I just wonder if Gu Feiyan can endure this beating." "Stop, you guys. Don't hit her. I'll go kill Lu Yu." Zhu Wu gasped out to stop them, then said coldly, "I know who you are. You are Lu Yu's fiancé." "Shut up! I have nothing to do with him anymore. He is my enemy now." I knew I had lost my composure, but for some reason, I couldn't bear hearing words like me being Lu Yu's fiancé. It would make me sick, deeply sick. Zhu Wu let out a long sigh and advised me, "Miss Li, Lu Yu doesn't like you. Just let it go. You are talented and beautiful with a good family background. You could marry anyone you want. Why hang yourself on one tree?" I found it inconceivable. In my past life, he quietly stayed by Gu Feiyan's side for so many years, even dying together with her. I thought he couldn't let go, but I never expected he could think so openly. It seems reasoning is only for convincing others. When it comes to yourself, no reasoning works. I sneered mockingly. "Indeed, I can't compare to your magnanimity, able to watch your beloved be with another man, even caringly tuck them in, and even kill your rival's rival, just so your beloved would pay you some attention. Truly broad-minded, I am impressed, truly impressed. You, Hemph." Zhu Wu was furious beyond words, yet couldn't find a single word to refute. He simply said, "I'll go kill Lu Yu. I hope you keep your word and release Gu Feiyan. Good. It is a deal. I'll have people watching you. If you deliberately reveal my identity to Lu Yu, I'll chop Gu Feiyan into mincemeat and feed her to the dogs. Zhu Wu shuddered with dread. I signaled Qiu He to leave, and had someone feed Zhu Wu a mute pill before untying him. Zhu Wu was furious. I said, "It is just a mute pill that stops you from speaking, nothing more. It wears off automatically within 12 hours and is completely harmless. This was given by the assassins of Yuseong Tower. In my previous life, I gave up halfway and never worked with them this closely, so I never even knew about this." What a pity. Zhu Wu let out a cold snort. As the drug gradually took effect, he slowly forced out a sentence. Why go this far? You and Gu Feiyan don't even know each other. Where does such great hatred come from? His question left me stunned. In this life, in others' eyes, it was just Gu Feiyan trying to smear me, but ended up smearing Lu Yu instead. We truly don't have any deep hatred. What I did was too much. I suddenly felt the bitterness of rebirth. No one knows your grievances, hatred, and resentment. They only think you went too far. You shouldn't. You should. But I quickly figured something out. I don't need to explain to anyone, nor do I need to prove anything to anyone. I want to do this, so I did. What is there to explain? I gave a faint smile. You and Lu Yu were also strangers. I'd like to ask you, did Gu Feiyan ever save your life? Yet you treat him like this. Before the muting drug took effect, Zhu Wu forced out his last words. She never saved me, but I adore her. I'd willingly die for her. He left in a fury, but before leaving, he insisted on hearing Gu Feiyan's voice before he'd leave at ease. Quite the romantic one. The waiting process was long. Q, he asked, can he kill Lu Yu? I nodded, then shook my head. As long as he goes to kill, the result doesn't matter. As long as he goes to kill, the people I arranged will expose his identity at the critical moment. Then he'll get an imperial arrest warrant. He'll never be able to stay at inns normally, or buy and sell things normally for the rest of his life. He'll have to hide forever. When the time comes, I'll let him leave with Gu Feiyan. But I'll tell Gu Feiyan that he went to kill Lu Yu. Hopefully Gu Feiyan will still feel sorry for him, understand him, and won't resent or hate him. At this moment, I feel like a villain. My blood boiling just thinking about the bad things I am about to do. Q, he touched my forehead. Miss Lee, your smile is terrifying. Me. I laughed enough, composed myself, and told Q he a story. Once there was a woman who was virtuous and gentle, filial to her in-laws, raised her sister, in-law well, and treated her husband as her everything. Originally, her husband's family was also satisfied with her, but one day, a big black mole grew on her face, and that mole grew bigger and bigger until it covered half her face. From then on, her husband despised her. Her in-laws scolded her. Even her sister, in-law, showed her no respect. But she still took care of them wholeheartedly, thinking that she had already lost her looks. She couldn't lose her reputation too. These were the very foundation of her standing. But one day later, she discovered that the mole on her face was deliberately caused by her husband poisoning her. Because her husband had fallen in love with a young and beautiful woman, and was keeping that woman outside like a treasured jewel. That woman didn't need to serve her in-laws, didn't need to raise the sister. In-law was spoiled, willful, and made unreasonable scenes. But the husband was deeply fond of her, not only putting thought into pleasing her, but also promising one life, one world, one pair, never touching another woman. And the in-laws praised that woman for bearing children, the sister. In-law also liked her, growing closer to her. In the end, the son that woman bore inherited the family business. Her daughter took in alive, in son, in-law, and she got everything. Yet the legal wife was despised, loathed, and insulted. Even though those people only had stable lives because of her hard work, they even called her greedy. Q-hee, I can't figure it out. Why does the virtuous and gentle woman only get a bad name, while that mistress gets everything? Why? Q. He fell silent. I was silent too. Her gaze rested quietly on me, unable to speak for a long time. After a long while, she spoke. Li Shangjun, you see me now avenging my master and his wife. But actually, I wasn't the child they loved most. They preferred Zhu Wu. The successor they chose to carry on the sect was Zhu Wu. She had never been a very likable child since she was little. Zhu Wu didn't like her, thought she was ugly, and her talents were mediocre. When she was young and didn't know better, she called him brother. Zhu Wu angrily warned her to never call him brother, only senior martial brother. She understood Zhu Wu's disdain, and from then on, only called him senior martial brother properly, never getting close again. The Song Yishan couple also preferred Zhu Wu more, feeling he was a man, and he looked dignified and impressive, not a disgrace to the family name. So Zhu Wu only needed to practice martial arts, while she had to both practice martial arts and do many chores. Li Shangjun, you see how this world is full of malice toward ordinary-looking girls. Because of my plain appearance, I lost master and mistress's regard and senior brother's affection. But so what? That only shows most people in the world are mediocre. I just need to become not mediocre myself. Do you know? Before master retired from the martial world, he told me that I actually have great talent in swordsmanship. He said he was going to retire, no longer needed someone to uphold the family reputation, so he would fairly teach me his trump card. Li Shangjun, at that moment, I felt so relieved, but I was also sad. Pretty people don't need to fight for anything. Someone will just hand them martial arts manuals. But someone unattractive like me has to work so hard just to be treated fairly. But I don't hate master and mistress. They gave me a life, and everyone is imperfect. Just like I am imperfect in appearance. They're imperfect in their thinking. That is all. As long as I think of this, I am not sad anymore. I am avenging master and mistress, not entirely for them. I am doing it for my future self. I hope that in the future, when I live to 30, 40, 50 years old, I can look back on things from my youth with no regrets. Li Shangjun, I live for myself. This is my way of the sword. I can't answer your question, but I believe there is justice in this world. Otherwise, there wouldn't be U.S. Jonggu folks upholding righteousness. If I were to meet that woman, I wouldn't be able to give her an answer, but I would kill that adulterous couple for her. I felt a deep respect for her. I picked up a treasure. She is a pearl lost in the vast ocean. Q-hee, I've also been thinking about a lot of things. For us young ladies of the boudoir, we've been taught since childhood to be virtuous and ladylike, to mind our reputation, and to consider the family's honor and disgrace in every word and deed. In fact, we do rely on our families to make a living. Without the family's protection, I wouldn't have been able to smoothly break off the engagement with Lu Yu. The family is my turtle shell. When danger comes, I can hide inside. But normally, I have to carry the turtle shell and walk slowly to keep it from getting damaged. It can be a bit tiring, but I can't just enjoy the benefits of the turtle shell without bearing its downsides. The question I asked you, actually, I've thought about it carefully too. A good woman loses everything. A bad woman gets everything. That is just what I thought. In fact, at the end of that story, the legal wife killed her husband, the mistress, and the mistress's children, and she herself was also executed. But the emperor upheld justice for her and had her husband's household confiscated. The empress pitied her and allowed her to divorce before dying. You see, once you step out of that original family, good people are still good people, and bad people are still bad people. This is what they mean by justice lies in people's hearts. If in an environment, good people turn into bad people, it is definitely not the person's fault, but the environment's fault. You just need to step out of it. Q-hee, I haven't found my own path yet, but I think, someday, I will find it. And I hope every person who has been bullied and humiliated can become their own hero without waiting for someone to save them. This day was the happiest day since my rebirth. I suddenly felt that the heavy turtle shell on me had become a bit more transparent, and also a bit harder. I suddenly realized that this shell doesn't have to be a heavy burden dragging me down. It can also be hard yet light, carrying me up to the ninth heaven. Before long, a servant came to report that Zhu Wu had returned, but he had blood on him, and it looked like the assassination had failed. He and I exchanged a glance. I hurried to see Zhu Wu, while he hid in the shadows. Zhu Wu's face was full of rage, his long sword pointing at me. But upon seeing the layers of guards around me, he resentfully sheathed his sword. The assassin who had followed him whispered a report to me. Lu Yu's home had no guards defending it. Zhu Wu rushed directly into Lu Yu's room and stabbed Lu Yu in the chest with his sword. Just as he was about to kill Lu Yu, he followed after him, called out Zhu Wu's name, and then slashed Zhu Wu's leg. This commotion alerted the Lu family's guards. Zhu Wu, dragging his injured leg, barely managed to escape after much hardship. He already knows I did this on purpose, and now he hates me to death. Hearing this made me feel quite pleased. Lu Yu probably didn't set up guards to make it easier for Gu Feiyan to come and go from the courtyard. He was certain Gu Feiyan would definitely come to deliver the antidote to him, but never in his wildest dreams would he expect that it was his love rival who came. As for Zhu Wu, he is about to receive an arrest warrant issued by the court, and can live a life of being pointed at and gossiped about. How delightful. I carefully savored Zhu Wu's anger and said with a smile, I am a man of my word. I'll release Gu Feiyan right now. Follow me. Zhu Wu was held by guards, enduring the pain from his injured leg, staggering as he followed me into another secret room. Gu Feiyan heard the movement and immediately said, Who is there? Let me out. Let me out. Zhu Wu also became agitated, wanting to go see Gu Feiyan. I had someone hold Zhu Wu down, letting him hear Gu Feiyan's voice but not see her. I walked up to Gu Feiyan, tore off the cloth covering her eyes, and for the first time looked her straight in the face openly. Gu Feiyan said angrily, It is you. That is right. It is me. My emotions had calmed down considerably. Indeed, only avenging a great wrong can bring one peace. You vile woman. You are truly despicable. If Yu Lang knew you did this, he would never marry you. A wicked woman like you doesn't deserve to be his wife. He doesn't deserve to be my husband. You and he are a perfect match. I took out the antidote, this currently one of a kind antidote. What I longed for desperately but couldn't obtain in my previous life, now held in my hands in this life, still felt unreal. I steadied myself, and right in front of Gu Feiyan, poured out some of the antidote from the bottle, leaving only a small amount, just enough for one person. Gu Feiyan widened her eyes in disbelief. Are you insane? How could you do this? I said indifferently, There is only this one dose of antidote, but 2 people are currently poisoned. Lu Yu and Zhu Wu, who do you want me to give this antidote to? Gu Feiyan's expression shifted. You captured brother Zhu Wu. You vicious woman. I knew you had bad intentions. You deliberately tricked me, didn't you? You are so infatuated with Lu Yu, you must have saved the antidote for him. So if I choose Zhu Wu, I'll be falling right into your trap. Is Yu Lang outside, able to hear us? You are bluffing me. Ha, if you won't choose, that means you don't want to save anyone. Then I'll just throw the antidote away. I made a motion as if to throw away the bottle. Gu Feiyan screamed. I choose Lu Yu. I paused. Why, I am in love with him. Then what about Zhu Wu? He came to assassinate me for your sake, and ended up getting captured by me instead. He gave up his vendetta for his master's murder for you, and was even prepared to kill his junior martial sister, just afraid she would come seeking revenge on you. He has done so much. Doesn't he deserve one bottle of antidote from you? Gu Feiyan froze, frozen for a very, very long time. She murmured to herself. He actually treated me so well. On the other side, Zuwu listened quietly, not daring to utter a single word. His face was full of grief and indignation, as if he too desperately wanted to know Gufeiyan's reaction. After a long while, Gufeiyan shook her head fiercely, as if trying to shake off all that momentary emotion. I only see Zuwu as a brother. Even if his appearance is ruined, I won't despise him. At worst, I'll take care of him like a brother for the rest of his life, Gufeiyan said resolutely. Zuwu's face turned ashen. I felt the joy of crushing one's heart. I clapped my hands and praised. Miss is truly so righteous indeed. Now here comes the second question. I did lie to you just now. In fact, the ones poisoned by this frostless ink are you and Luyu. This time, how will you choose? I ordered someone to pick up a prepared bronze mirror and place it in front of Gufeiyan. At first, Gufeiyan didn't care at all, but soon, she was staring at the mirror and screaming. My face, Li Shangjun, how vicious you are. How dare you treat me like this? Her face was twisted with malice, her lovely and charming features now crawling with hatred, her beautiful eyes seeming to spit fire. So different from the Gufeiyan I saw in my past life, radiating with happiness. Happiness makes a person shine brilliantly, while hatred drains all the life out of a person. She was falling step by step, seemingly sinking to the same depths I once had. But it wasn't enough, far from enough. I stepped back and looked at her calmly. Choose. Do you choose Luyu or yourself? Gufeiyan was in pain. This time, she was truly in pain. Tears streamed down her face, her heart struggling, her eyes looking at me pitifully, hoping I would show her mercy. But in my past life, she showed me no mercy. In this life, I would show her none either. My heart was hard as iron. Gufeiyan slowly knelt down, her expression desolate. Li Shangjun, I know I was wrong, but I didn't actually harm you, did I? Why do you hate me so much? My chest felt terribly suffocated. She didn't harm me. That was because I had rebirth, because I was clever, because I was quick to act. What did that have to do with her? I said coldly. You, or Luyu 3-2. I raised the bottle high and slowly loosened my grip under Gufeiyan's terrified gaze. Me, choose me, Gufeiyan screamed. I caught the bottle with my other hand. Gufeiyan collapsed limply on the ground, as if all her strength had left her. Gufeiyan, so this is all your love amounts to. I threw the medicine bottle at her, afraid the bottle would shatter. She hurriedly caught it. Is this really the antidote? Ha, I didn't answer her. Whether she uses it or not is up to her. I just want her to overthink, torment herself, and suffer in agony. A quick blade kills swiftly, that is settling grudges with satisfaction. A slow blade grinds, that is for blood feuds, that can never be forgiven. The mental torment I've suffered, she must suffer the same. You can leave now. You are that kind-hearted. I scoffed lightly, leading the others away, leaving only Zuwu and Gufeiyan behind. Gufeiyan's face turned pale inch by inch. Zuwu watched her, the love in his eyes replaced by coldness. This time, it wasn't a coldness that tried to hide something. It was genuine indifference. In his heart, Gufeiyan transformed from a genuine, passionate heroine into a selfish, petty person. Though he was also a petty person. Even petty people admire good people and despise bad ones. Gufeiyan hurriedly covered her face. Don't look at me. Zuwu coldly untied the ropes on her and turned to leave. Gufeiyan felt his disgust, tears nearly falling. She picked up the antidote and hurried to catch up. Brother Zuwu, wait for me. The two came out one after the other. I looked at Gufeiyan and said with a smile, I forgot to tell you just now, Zuwu was injured, on his leg. Just as Gufeiyan was about to comfort Zuwu, I continued. But this wound was left from Zuwu's assassination attempt on Luyu. Luyu was stabbed in the chest by him, his fate unknown. If you don't believe me, why not ask Zhu Wu and see if he'll deny it? Gu Feiyan's expression went blank for a moment. She angrily questioned Zhu Wu. Is what Li Xiangjun said true? The muting drug hadn't worn off yet. He couldn't utter a single word. He pointed at his throat, but the enraged Gu Feiyan couldn't understand. In the end, he glared fiercely at me and limped away in agitation. Gu Feiyan followed behind him, her earlier eagerness gone, replaced only by bewilderment and resentment. She didn't dare stay alone either, fearing I would catch her again, so she could only reluctantly follow Zhu Wu's steps. He stepped out from the shadows and asked, "Just let them go like this? You really gave her the antidote?" I nodded. Once she uses up the antidote, the nightmare truly begins. Once she uses the antidote, she won't dare to see Lu Yu again. And I'll issue a kill order. She'll have no choice but to stay with Zhu Wu to survive. Zhu Wu is being hunted by the court, so he can only stay with her as cover. I want them to have no choice but to be together, yet have no choice but to despise each other. That is the most satisfying punishment. By the time I got home, the doctor had already developed an enhanced version of Wushuang ink with no antidote. Looking at that small bottle of ointment, I added another Zhonggu assassination order at Yushang Tower. I want them to send their assassin with the best Qinggong to track Gu Feiyan. I don't want Gu Feiyan dead. I just want them to leave a mark of ink on Gu Feiyan's face every single time. I want Gu Feiyan to live in constant fear, unable to enjoy a single day. I want her to march toward old age and death with a blackened face, regretting what she has done for the rest of her life. However, I also admire someone like her. How could you? He was stunned. I sighed. She is a villain who always puts herself first, never letting herself be wronged. If good people could learn even half of herself, prioritization, maybe they could live better lives. How to balance self-interest and the greater good is always a difficult question. But I hope good people can live better, instead of always sacrificing, always giving, as if living. It shouldn't be this way. After finishing all this, I had a nice long sleep. I slept for 2 days and 2 nights. When I woke up, I felt refreshed and clear-headed, as if all the fatigue from my previous life had been swept away. I looked at that still, young face in the mirror, yet the eyes were not those of a 16-year-old girl. Now, I only have one enemy left. The Liu family. He excitedly told me about Lu Yu. Lu Yu was stabbed by Zhu Wu, seriously injured, and now lies unconscious. He is a court official, so the assassination attempt is a big deal. The capital magistrate has already issued a warrant for Zhu Wu's arrest, based on the Liu family's descriptions. Now wanted posters for Zhu Wu are plastered inside and outside the city. The Liu family took this opportunity to request leave for Lu Yu, only hoping to cure the ink marks on his face during the treatment period. Lu Yu's mother, Lady Qian, already despised Gu Feiyan completely, declaring she would never let such a vulgar woman into the Liu family. Lady Qian even came to apologize to my father and mother on one hand. She said the Liu family was unfortunate to be entangled with a Zhonggu woman, leading to their current predicament. On the other hand, she said she liked a virtuous and gentle noble lady like me, and still hoped the two families could set aside old grudges and become in-laws. Lady Qian knew she couldn't persuade my parents, so she started actively seeking famous doctors to treat Lu Yu. But no matter how many medicines they tried, the ink marks not only didn't fade, they actually looked deeper and more terrifying. The Liu family spends silver like flowing water every day. Lulian hasn't gone out for fun or shopping in a long time, and has developed some resentment towards Lu Yu nowadays. The Liu family is full of bickering and fighting all day, no longer the happy and harmonious scene of before. A smile couldn't help but spread across my lips. I've heard people say before, if you want to quickly become close with someone, the way is to badmouth someone together. I used to be the one they talked about. By badmouthing me, they formed alliances and tightly united together. Now without me, unable to find a common enemy, they can only attack each other and fall apart. How satisfying. He hesitated again, then said, Li Shangjun, your reputation might be ruined, but I don't think it matters. What do you think? I smiled and nodded. Indeed, it doesn't matter. Who doesn't talk behind others' backs, and who isn't talked about behind their back? I am not a saint, and I can't expect others to be saints either. As long as I live better and better, more people will say good things about me. I just need to make myself live well, and that is enough. Those in power are always surrounded by people who go along with them. I just lost my power. That is all. When I hold power again, I believe everyone around me will be good people. At that time, I'll actually need to be wary of the good people around me and listen more to different voices. I started managing my own dowry, with my experience from the previous life. These things came more easily. I could even make up for the regrets of my previous life, find my capable subordinates ahead of time, and run the shops even more brilliantly. In just 3 short months, my shop became popular, and the new products I launched became widely known at an incredible speed. Far fewer people gossiped about me now, and instead they all said someone with my temperament was the kind of person who accomplishes great things. I finally understood a saying, history is written by the victors. Once I understood this, I cared even less about rumors and gossip, focusing solely on my own affairs. One day, I saw Lu Yu. The moment I saw him, I knew he had also experienced rebirth. His eyes were solemn, concealing the intimidation of someone in power. But paired with that face covered by a veil, it looked somewhat ridiculous. He asked me straight out if I had captured Gu Feiyan. Looking at him, I found a sense of reassurance in meeting a worthy opponent. The suffering of my previous life could finally find a worthy target in this life. After all, he was the root of all my misery. And I had been waiting for this day all along. A mocking curve formed at the corner of my lips as I slowly walked up to him and reached out to mercilessly tear off the veil from his face. What is young Master Lu hiding his face for? Could there be something unsightly on it? He panicked for a moment, then glared at me with furious eyes. Li Shangjun, you've gone too far. I carefully admired the ink marks on his face, extending from his cheek to near his ear, with a blank spot in the middle. Skin that Gu Feiyan hadn't pinched at the time, making the ink marks look like the ink had broken off, somewhat laughable. Young Master Lu once told me that you don't despise me, that I needn't hide and cover up making people laugh. Now I am telling young Master Lu the same thing. I won't mock you, and you don't need to hide and cover up in front of me. It does look quite laughable indeed. The same words stinging him made me feel a sense of satisfaction. So this is what it feels like to abandon morality and be a villain. Lu Yu fell silent. I am sorry. I was stunned for a moment. What did I just hear? I am sorry, but I didn't feel satisfied at all. I only felt angry. Could 20 years of my suffering be resolved with a single, I am sorry, no, never. I let out a light chuckle and took out a box of scar removal cream. Young Master Lu, the person you want isn't here. I don't know where your Miss Gu went either, but you and I both know how vicious this frost-free ink is. Why not gouge out that piece of skin? I have excellent scar removal cream here that I can sell to you cheap. Lu Yu bent down and bowed to me. Everything before was my fault, but in the previous life, my Lu family was raided and exiled. Your revenge was already taken. In this life, we should owe each other nothing. Tell me Gu Feiyan's whereabouts, and from now on all grudges between us will be settled. As compensation, I am willing to give you 10 of the Lu family's shop fronts. I looked at him coldly and said indifferently, Young Master Lu, how about this? You wear that face for 20 years, and 20 years later, I'll tell you Gu Feiyan's whereabouts. You won't even be 40 then. You can still start over. What do you say? Lu Yu's lips pressed tightly together. We were husband and wife once. Must you really do this? Whether the grudge is settled, whether it ends, that is for the victim to decide. Not you, Lu Yu. There is no affection between us, only enmity. I am waiting to see your retribution. Lu Yu's expression turned solemn, his gaze sharp, as he turned and swept away with a flick of his sleeve. In the previous life, Lu Yu rose to become a third-rank official, wielding great power, a trusted minister held in high regard. I wouldn't underestimate him. Soon, he found out that Lu Yu had inquired about Gu Feiyan's whereabouts at Yuxiang Tower, but Yuxiang Tower refused him, because Yuxiang Tower wouldn't take on conflicting commissions at the same time. But from this, Lu Yu deduced that I was hunting down Gu Feiyan. He quickly contacted Sanhua Pavilion, Yuxiang Tower's rival, with only one request: protect Gu Feiyan and bring her to him. Thinking of Gu Feiyan now, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. He had once gone to check on Gu Feiyan. She had used the antidote to wash away the wushuang ink on her face, and coaxed Zhu Wu back, but she clearly felt that Zhu Wu no longer cherished her as much as before. She threw tantrums, but Zhu Wu no longer coaxed her. Instead, he sneered and turned away. She left in a huff, but was soon caught up by assassins from Yuxiang Tower, and another ink mark appeared on her face. But this time, there was no antidote left. She was terrified and hurried to find Zhu Wu, only to see that Zhu Wu was wanted and being chased by court constables. She helped Zhu Wu, and after they escaped, they disguised themselves and left the capital, heading to the western regions to find the antidote for wushuang ink. I was really looking forward to the scene when she finally reached the western regions, after all that hardship, found the antidote for wushuang ink, only to discover that the original antidote couldn't remove the wushuang ink now on her face. That would be absolutely hilarious. And during this process, she was found by people from Yuxiang Tower twice more. Now she had 3 ink marks on her face, looking like a calico cat. To get Zhu Wu to help her, she gave herself to him. I was really curious what would happen if Lu Yu found her. That would definitely be spectacular. I notified Yuxiang Tower to pause the assassination, payment as usual, and wait for the right moment to resume. Not long after, Gu Feiyan was found by Lu Yu's people and brought to the capital. On this day, I openly visited the Lu residence. He followed behind me, with the master I had hired for her by my side. The two of them escorted me as I walked proudly toward the banquet hall. Looking at the familiar pavilions and towers, I felt the Lu family seemed to have fallen into decline. In my previous life, the Lu family estate was lush and flourishing, with abundant flowers and plants. The painted decorations on the pavilions and towers were regularly restored and touched up by someone. The pond water was regularly cleaned and filtered by someone, and even the waterside pavilion needed tung oil for maintenance. You could see the care put into every blade of grass and every tree. But now, everything in the Lu household looked shabby and run down. When I entered, Zhu Wu had been beaten to the ground, one of his legs bent at a twisted angle. Gu Feiyan's hair was disheveled, her teary eyes fixed on Lu Yu. Lu Yu lifted her chin and asked her where the antidote was. Gu Feiyan gritted her teeth and refused to speak. Lu Yu yanked away the veil covering her face. His eyes widened in shock. He released his grip in astonishment, stumbled back several steps, and collapsed into the armchair. How could this be? How? I watched this scene with great satisfaction, a lot of the resentment in my heart dissipating. Gu Feiyan turned her head, saw me, quickly put on her veil, and accused, "It is all her fault. This wretched woman ruined the antidote." I smiled and said, "Miss Gu, you are not telling the truth. I clearly gave you a choice back then." "Shut up! Shut up! You are not allowed to say it. Stop talking." Gu Feiyan covered her ears. "Speak." Lu Yu roared angrily. I sat down, contentedly admiring their fury, a smile on my face. See, I can be happy and at ease too, as long as my enemies suffer enough. Amitabha, I'll donate some money to Jingning Nunnery later. Seeing that I kept my mouth shut, Lu Yu vented his anger on Gu Feiyan. Speak. Why won't you say anything? Gu Feiyan stubbornly refused to speak. Zhu Wu, who was lying face down on the ground, suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and sneered. Of course she doesn't dare say because… Zhu Wu. Gu Feiyan shrieked, but Zhu Wu ignored her completely and said to himself, because there was only one dose of antidote left. Li Xiangjun made her choose whether to give the antidote to you or use it herself. Lu Yu Gu Feiyan chose herself. She chose herself. Gu Feiyan's face turned deathly pale. Lu Yu was struck as if by lightning. Zhu Wu laughed maniacally, thrilled by his enemy's defeat. But as he laughed, tears streamed down his face. Gu Feiyan, you disgust me. I actually harmed my master and his wife for a woman like you. If I could live again, I would kill you. I would tear you into 10,000 pieces. He roared out. Gu Feiyan's lips trembled as she looked at Lu Yu pleadingly. Yu Lang, it is not like that. I was so scared. I was afraid you'd think I was ugly and wouldn't want me anymore. I was really scared. Lu Yu gritted his teeth. You don't believe me. Gu Feiyan was stunned for a moment, then shrieked her questioning. How do you expect me to believe you? How long had we been apart before you were about to marry? You've been so fickle with me. Why should I still believe you? If I hadn't crashed the wedding banquet, you and Li Xiangjun would have already flown off together. Would you have remembered then that there was a Gu Feiyan in the martial world waiting for you? You fell for me at first sight back then. Was it really because I saved you, or was it just lust at first sight? What is wrong with me cherishing my own beauty? Today's outcome was caused by your fickleness. The fault is not mine. Gu Feiyan is my enemy. But at this moment I admire her. Someone like her probably always sleeps well at night. The entire hall fell silent. Everyone seemed to have lost their strength. Lu Yu said in despair, What does a woman's appearance matter? All you want is your husband's favor, and I can give you that. But do you know what will happen now that I have ink marks on my face? I'll never be able to serve as an official in my entire life. His Majesty will forget about me. The Lu family will be kicked out of the capital's nobility, and the Marquis title will end with my generation. Only by making achievements could I beg for His Majesty's mercy and let our son inherit the title. But because of your selfishness, all of this is ruined. What about our children? Have you ever thought about that? He had confused his past life with this one. By the time he realized it, he had already lost the desire to explain. Gu Feiyan was bewildered and stunned. I said indifferently, Who said a woman's appearance isn't important? A woman's appearance is only occasionally shown to others. But most importantly, it is for ourselves to see. You want to live respectably in this world. But are we women not human beings? Don't we need to live respectably and beautifully in this world too? Ha, ridiculous, Gu Feiyan said. That is right, I've done nothing wrong. Me? How rare, in this lifetime, I've actually united on the same front with an enemy. I found it utterly uninteresting. I clapped my hands, and a pair of constables came in, lifted Zhu Wu and walked out. Zhu Wu was a major criminal wanted by the court. After I discovered Zhu Wu had been captured by Lu Yu, I immediately sent someone to report to the capital magistrate, and thus I received 50 taels of reward silver from the capital magistrate. I gave some to those constables who followed, only asking them to wait and let me finish watching the show before coming in to arrest him. Zhu Wu was led away with his head lowered, not even glancing at Gu Feiyan once. When passing by Ku He quietly said sorry. Ku He stepped back, as if afraid of being tainted by something filthy. I left the Lu residence before leaving. I told Lu Yu, there is an antidote in the western regions. Gu Feiyan knows about it. Li Xiangjun, I don't believe you. I smiled. Huh, so what? You are still going to do it anyway. Lu Yu was an extremely arrogant person. Even knowing it was a fire pit, he would still jump in. He would be just like me in my past life, searching everywhere for doctors and medicine, yet gaining nothing, full of hope. only to end up full of disappointment. Zhu Wu was thrown into prison. Not long after, as a typical case, he was sentenced to beheading. The day he died, we were all very busy. By the time we finished, we realized he was already dead. To us, he had become an insignificant person. After Zhu Wu's death, Lu Yu had people escort Gu Feiyan to the western regions to find the antidote, and I initiated Yuxiang Tower's assassination plan. By the time Gu Feiyan reached the western regions, there was hardly any unblemished skin left on her face. Everyone thought she was strange, assuming she had some terrible disease, all avoiding her and pointing fingers at her. And her feelings toward Lu Yu changed from genuinely wanting to find the antidote for him at first, to wishing he would just die. Because Lu Yu had initially hired Yuxiang Tower's rivals to protect her. But later, he couldn't afford it anymore, and had to withdraw the protection. His men watched as Gu Feiyan was bullied. At first, they'd at least make a token effort to stomp their feet, but later, they just stood by and watched. Gu Feiyan went from evading and dodging at first, to accepting her fate. Once a person accepts their fate, it is the beginning of sliding into the abyss. I figured, even if she found the antidote in the western regions, she probably wouldn't bring it back for Lu Yu anymore. Besides, the antidote was hard to find. How long would it take her to find it? Later on, Lu Yu colluded with officials to suppress my shop. He hired thugs to cause trouble, and had officials come to crack down. I treated this coldly because I had already squeezed all of the Lu family's shops out of business. Madame Qian had started selling off shops, and I acquired a few of them. I had people surround all those ruffians and officials, then quietly waited for the good news. Soon, the Empress's trusted eunuch personally delivered a plaque from the palace, inscribed with "Righteous Merchant of the Realm." These years, natural disasters and man-made calamities never ceased. I asked Mother to take me into the palace to see the Empress, willing to offer all my business earnings from these years to help with disaster relief. That day, the Empress looked at me for a long time. She smiled and said, "This young lady seems rather familiar." One sentence made my tears fall. In my previous life, I set fire to the manor, killed those who deserved to die. Let the world know of my grievances, and the Emperor sentenced me to death. I wasn't afraid. A life for a life, that was what I deserved. What I feared most deep inside was that I would die as a woman of the Lu family, and even in the netherworld, I would be recorded as a woman of the Lu family. That to me was the greatest humiliation. It was the Empress who summoned me and took the initiative to ask if I wanted a divorce. I nodded in agreement. She looked at me for a long while, then slowly nodded. "You will get what you wish for. Go now." I left in a daze. My feet had been tortured, so I walked very slowly. I heard the palace maid beside the Empress ask her, "Your Majesty, killing one's husband is a grave crime. Why do you still bestow grace upon her? She is a good child. She just never met good people. Even a clay figure has some temper. So why shouldn't she seek revenge?" When I died, my heart was completely at peace. I thought, I had met a good emperor and empress. I was born in a decent era, but unfortunately never met decent people. If there is a next life, let me live a better life. Heavens above, I am begging you. Rebirth into a new life. I took revenge, made money, won people over, befriended the powerful. But only Her Majesty, the Empress, wasn't someone I could repay just by wanting to. I saved up money for 3 years before I felt capable enough to stand before her. Before entering the palace, I actually really wanted to proudly tell her how hard I worked these 3 years, how much I accomplished these 3 years. The Lu family I took revenge on had to sell off their assets. I made Madame Qian so angry she fell ill. I made it so no one has come to ask for Lu Lian's hand in marriage to this day. As for Lu Yu, he is now begged for a small position in a prince's residence, only hoping to bet on the right horse and rise. again following a new master in the future. I also earned lots and lots of money, enough for her to calmly handle any disaster. But when I really stood before her, I suddenly found I couldn't say anything at all, could only follow Mother in kneeling and paying respects. Until she spoke those words, tears came streaming down. Emotions from my past and present life all surged up in an instant. I cried uncontrollably. Mother, afraid I'd lose my composure, hurriedly pleaded on my behalf. The Empress waved her hand and ordered someone to bring hot water and a handkerchief, waited until I had cried enough, then said slowly, "Good girl, what is wrong with you?" When I left the palace, my heart felt like it had a piece of candy sweetly giving off a fragrance. The Empress accepted my donation and gave me 2 gifts in return. One was a plaque of Righteous Merchant of the Realm, allowing me to conduct business unhindered in the future. The other was assigning the disaster relief work to the 7th prince, not the 4th prince whom Lu Yu served. The 4th prince knew he had been implicated because of Lu Yu, and hurriedly kicked Lu Yu out of his advisory team. Lu Yu asked to meet me. I refused. I was very busy, and had little time left to spare for the past. For me, every day was a brand new day, full of sunshine. 5 years later, the Liu family was stripped of their noble title, and their former marquis mansion was reclaimed. Madame Qian fell ill. By then, Lulian had already married into a small household, living a tight life. When she heard Lu Yu came to borrow money for Madame Qian's medical treatment, she hid in her room pretending not to be home. Lu Yu had no choice but to go out and earn money himself to support his elderly mother. But the capital was big, and living there was not easy. Not long after, Madame Qian passed away from illness. Lu Yu couldn't afford a burial plot, and had to sell his last possessions to bury Mother Lu. But at this time, he still had a sliver of hope, wanting to wait for Gu Feiyan to bring back the antidote from the western regions. So, I had someone deliver the antidote to Gu Feiyan's hands. Gu Feiyan was overjoyed and applied the medicine on her face, but it was useless. She applied the entire bottle of medicine, only to find it was useless. Great joy followed by great sorrow. Gu Feiyan died in despair in the western regions. Lu Yu waited year after year until finally that last bit of hope faded away. Later on, I took my adorable little daughter to offer incense at Jingnianen. Abbess Jing'an smilingly stroked her hair, praising, "Little girl, you look so lovely, and your fate is even better." My little daughter revealed her cute little tiger teeth in a charming smile. Going down the mountain back to the capital, we encountered a beggar on the road. My daughter said, "He is so pitiful." I looked at the disheveled Lu Yu and said indifferently, "Baby, don't casually sympathize with others. You don't know if what you are sympathizing with is a person or a ghost. Save your kindness for those who truly need it, not for those who just look pitiful. But don't be afraid. Mother will accompany you as you grow up and share this prosperous